Hello, everybody. It's time for another Frank White Friday. And just briefly, I want to mention that at our most recent overview roundtable, we talked about and honored Bill Anders, the Apollo 8 astronaut who took the iconic photograph of Earthrise that you see behind me. Bill died in an airplane crash recently at the age of 90. And of all of the contributions made by all of the astronauts over time, his was certainly one of the most important from an overview effect perspective, because it really showed our planet for what it is, a beautiful jewel-like image floating above the barren surface of the moon against the dark background of the cosmos. Thank you, Bill Anders. Moving on, I want to talk about something I've discussed before, which is the overlap between space migration and artificial intelligence and how they might relate to one another. And you know, back in 1987, with the first edition of my book, The Overview Effect, Space Exploration and Human Evolution, I asked the question, looking at the future, how should those on Earth and those who remain on Earth think of the space communities that will be created off of the Earth? And I talked about various options, including it could be like Antarctica. You know, the solar system could be an area where nations come together to do research and work together, but there really isn't a space settlement idea or creation of space communities where you have people, including families, living together off the planet. And I thought about it and came up with a number of other options, but one of them was that we should think of those who leave as being like the human parenting model. And that is to say, we nurture and honor those who depart. They are our children, as it were. And we should not expect to control them or even to benefit greatly from what they do. And a lot of this came out of my feeling at the time that a space community on Mars would eventually declare its independence of Earth because it's so far away, and the people living there would really need to evolve their own ways of governing. They would need to be independent in order to survive and thrive in a completely different environment, much like those Europeans who came to North America a few centuries ago, eventually declared independence because they didn't feel the King of England could, in fact, understand them or govern them. And I still feel that that's the right model. What's interesting is I was watching a Lex Friedman podcast, and if you haven't watched him on YouTube, it's well worth your time. He was interviewing an MIT scientist about artificial intelligence, and I have searched for the name of that scientist, and I will find it for you, but I couldn't find it for today. In any event, this particular person said we should think of AI as our children. We shouldn't be so concerned about controlling them. We shouldn't be so afraid of them. We should think of them as our children and maybe our partners, and just let go of all the fear. And they may surpass us just as our human children do. And just as a space community off of the Earth might surpass the Earth. And I was struck by the parallelism there and how wise it was, because that's how I see artificial intelligence. We shouldn't see this new technology as a tool or a servant or as a master or as a superior. Let's think about how to work with AI, think about AI as our children, and not be too worried about them becoming smarter than us. I wrote a book about AI some years ago, and I did a lot of research on intelligence. And I read a book by Franz de Waal called Are We Smart Enough to Know How Smart Animals Are? He pointed out that a characteristic of people who study animal behavior is to constantly return to the question, how are we different, quote, superior to animals, and a reluctance to really grant them the intelligence that they actually have. And in thinking about AI and thinking about animal intelligence, another form of AI, it occurred to me that what really makes humans human is our intense desire to be special and to be different. We may have to let go of that. If we meet an extraterrestrial civilization or even have communication with such a civilization, they might be smarter than we are. AI, which I like to call another intelligence and not artificial intelligence, may be able to do some things better than we can. And in fact, we already see that. Future space communities are, again, our children. Literally, some of them may be our children, may end up having greater intelligence than terrestrial humans. I don't know. But what all of this leads me to believe is that we need to, for our own good, let go of this requirement that we be the smartest kids on the block. I know it's hard. It's hard for me. I'm sure it's hard for all of us because we're used to seeing ourselves as really, really special and different. However, inevitably, that seems to be where we're going. And it also seems that artificial intelligence or another intelligence and large-scale space migration may go hand in hand. And in both cases, we should think about being good parents, not competitors, not attempting to be more important than our children. If you're a parent, you know about this. You've seen it. You know what I'm talking about. If you're not, talk to a parent. And with that, I'll leave you and wish you a very good weekend, and we'll return to this topic again. Thanks a lot, everyone. Bye-bye.